So this video is for Hour 7, Introduction to Database Query. And in this chapter we discussed basic queries that you can run against a database, and then the exercises were to run a set of queries and then correct what was wrong with the query if there was anything wrong. So to begin with, we started with this query. When we go ahead and execute it, we get a incorrect syntax. So you cannot have this comma right here at the end of the query that selects these three columns from this table. As soon as we remove that, we see that the query runs after we execute this. There we go. So you always have to use the correct database query. And then now you can see that we've got emp ID, last name, first name. So then the second query that we were to run was select emp ID, last name, order by employee table from employee table. We execute that, and of course we can immediately see that the problem is we're trying to order it by the table from the table. Really, to be able to run this query successfully, we need to order it by one of these two columns, not the table. So now if we execute it, you'll see that it actually orders it small to low by employee ID. So if we go ahead and execute this column, you will see that when we execute this one, it works perfectly. So we get select these from employee ID where the ID equals this, and then we can order it by employee ID. That's really not a needed statement because we're only pulling out one. Oops, click the debug, and we don't want to go there. Yes. Alright, let's get back here. Cancel. So what happens when you click the debug. So we'll go ahead and run this, and we'll see that this one runs successfully as well because we're looking for social security number and last name. Those are the only two from, and then we ordered them by one, which was social security number versus last name. If we put 2 in here, then it would order them alphabetically by last name versus numerically by social security number. So then the next query that we were to run is to run this query, and we will go ahead and run it. We'll see that it pulls no data. So how I did this is I went and backed this out and then reran my query basically and found that one. Let's put that whole thing back in there. The problem is we're trying to look up employee ID, and sorry about that. We're trying to look up employee ID, and we're trying to a where clause of employee ID, but the problem is we're not actually running the employee ID column, so we can't run a where clause against something that we're not using. So the first thing I did was add the employee ID, and again I get no results. So then I go ahead and remove this and run it, and then very briefly, and this isn't really something that you could do if you had a large amount of data with employees, but I can look at this very small table and see, well, there's no 33333 employee, so that tells me that my query, which actually means this query did run successfully, but there is no employee with that number, so the query just returns no data, as we can see here. So there is no employee 333, so it eliminates the data. So then the next thing we're supposed to do is write a select statement that returns the name and cost of each product from the products table, and then which product is most expensive. So if we run this query, which is select product description and cost from the products table and then order it by cost, what we'll go ahead and see here is that we can scroll now down and see that the which costume at $29.99 is the most expensive item on the table. And the next thing we were supposed to do is write a query that generates a list of all customers and their telephone numbers. So we'll go ahead and execute that, which is select customer name, customer phone from the customer table, and then we go ahead and can see that we have all the customers' names and phone numbers. And then the final query that we are supposed to run is a query, write a simple query to return a list of customers with a particular last name. Try using a where clause with the name in mixed case and uppercase, and then this will determine what case sensitivity our database is set to. So if I go ahead and execute this, see, we need to have the full query. If I execute this, we have Wendy Wolf. She comes up immediately, and then if we go, let's go ahead and run this again, and we'll execute it, and we can see that my particular database is set up to where it is in different case. So you can see I can pull Wendy Wolf capital or Wendy Wolf in small letters. So this is just a brief video that goes over what we learned in Hour 7, as well as going through the exercises in Hour 7. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and have a nice day.